Well, we had a query from a designer in the US who's moving from a software application for landscape design called Dynascape and is now using gCADPlus. And while I'm not familiar with Dynascape, I'm told that you set a scale before you begin drafting. That's not the case in gCADPlus. You leave setting the scale to the last stage in the design process. I'm looking here at a design from Connecticut in the US. So it's quite a large site. If I pick the distance command and move from one side to the other, the distance is 231, so 230 decimal feet across the back of that site. We develop our design as you would in the AutoCAD environment, full size in this so-called model space. We're in model space now, there's a tab for it. When we want to present, let's assume that we've finished the design. I'll scroll out a little. We've made a plant schedule. Let me zoom in on it. So all of the plants in the design and the number has been set. So let's zoom a window, let's say, on this area here. So whenever I pick a symbol such as this one, which has simply been dragged in from the gCADPlus library, that's this drop down here, because it's been dragged in and assigned a species, the species shows over here on the left hand side. Let's just widen the properties box just a little. It's a particular variety of Hydrangea macrophylla. Here's another example of viburnum. So all of the plants, the new plants in this design, have been tagged in a very simple text file which is accessed via the gCADPlus drop down. Edit it. Here's this long list, and you can categorize them and sort these in whatever way you want. So you can use that as a little plant database while you're working with gCADPlus. But I digress. The question is, how do you deal with plot scale? Well, we do that by going to Format and creating a layout. And there are 3 layouts in this one at the moment, but let's assume you were doing this for the first time. You've finished your design and you choose the paper size that you want. We have a wide range. Let's imagine we'd want an architectural size C sheet and we want it in landscape. So we'd OK that. Now a new tab appears at the bottom of the screen, and let's click it and we'll zoom extents so we see the whole page. So at the moment we're seeing the plant schedule, and let's imagine we don't want that, so we just double click inside this floating viewport. I'll select it now. Should be able to see that the properties of any selected entity are displayed, and all I need do is double click in there, and the print scale's not been set. I'm just adjusting things to suit me, and I'll display it on the layout. So to get rid of that dotted line, which is the highlight of the floating viewport, you just double click close to it, or select it, right click and say don't display. So we've created a new layout. Let's zoom extents on an architectural C size sheet, and if we select that floating viewport, we have that there is no fixed scale and the view scale is 0.6134. That's an arbitrary scale. But let's assume now that we want to set a fixed scale. We've already got in the design brought in from the gCADPlus details set a scale bar, an internal scale bar, and we always recommend that you include one of those in your design. To set the scale value in that floating viewport, go to Modify and to set a fixed scale in layout. Be careful about this, don't just pick fixed scale. fixed scale in layout. And the prompt down here at the bottom says select the viewport. That's the black line around it, although we can make it any color we want. And down the bottom of the screen in the command area, we're being asked, are we working in the metric or the imperial environment? We'll say I for imperial. Now we're given a range of possible scales. Now 1 to 96 is a common scale in the US, so let's type 1/96. It's close to the metric 1 to 100, and bang, we zoom in. So that's now, if you look over here, it's now a fixed scale. Let's hit the escape key and go to modify and match properties, and we'll, sorry, not match properties, modify and set the fixed scale in layer. Pick that again and hit enter. The default down there is imperial, so hit enter, and let's go for 1 to 192. Oops. 1/192, and hit enter, and the scale is the view, and that's all it is a view into the design. So we now have a fixed scale, so we can print that now. 1 equals 1. We can say file and print and choose our printer. We might, for the sake of argument, choose a PDF writer, and then we can find our architectural C size sheet and in landscape, and we can OK that, and we notice that the scale is 1 equal 0.195. Take that off, and what we're going to do is plot 1 to 1, because we know that this is a scale of 1/192, and we can just say OK, and that will plot precisely that piece of paper at 1 to 192, and you can incorporate that information in the title block at the bottom. So I'll cancel from that. There's no need for you to do it. You can use a tool we've written, file, save as a PDF, and make a PDF file in that way. It's very quick, but doesn't give you quite the precision that you get when you're printing to a conventional high quality PDF writer. So I hope that answers the question. Managing scale in gCADPlus can be done after the design has been produced. Here the designer here has a landscape plan, has put a border around or border on the sheet, and it's not to scale. If we drag a crossing window across here, take the rectangle out, here we've got a scale, view scale of 0.9, but there's no fixed scale there at all, but we are including the box. To display the plant list, we have a separate layout for it. There are various ways of generating that plant list, including a method that will put the symbol alongside in a separate column, but that's for another day. So I hope that helps.